Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about a article that was posted last week. It was actually the developer updates for Season of Discovery. I've got a VOD from I think about a month ago of Nax. This was my first Nax back in a while, so it's pretty rough. There's definitely some mishaps I have that I took notes of. I'm cringing a little bit rewatching this, just being like, I can't believe I actually did that there. And that's typically a thing when I'm watching footage of myself. I kind of just very critical of it, so I apologize. Probably gonna do that every single time I start one of these videos. That is old VOD footage. But anyways, I'm just going to post it on the screen real quick. And I know a lot of content creators kind of already went over this developer update. I wanted to give my take on it. I know it's a little bit old, but it's just like there's a lot of stuff in here that I find very concerning. Jake from Tree did post a really good video on it where he did kind of focus on the same thing I'm going to be talking about a little bit. If you guys don't watch Jake from Tree, I highly recommend him. He's like one of the biggest content creators I could ever recommend. His content's very good, very concise, very good to the point. I'm going to post his video in the description. I highly recommend you guys check out Jake from Tree if you have not already. But anyway, so again, we're going to be focusing on this. There's a lot of stuff in this article. If you haven't read it, again, it'll be in the description. But here is on the flip side, we also always wanted to make sure that any 40 player raids that exist remain approachable. An example, able to be completed to pickup groups, and that they maintain the soda and pretzels from Field 2019 Classic rating, where you could bring almost any group composition or experience level and have success. Um, I don't think that that's a very accurate description of classic rating. Molten Core, you obviously have like a lot more leeway. It's very easy. It's very easy to kind of fit any kind of comp in there. Blackwing Lair, the difficulty ramps up just a slight bit. Like Fire Maw was a roadblock for a lot of guilds, stuff like that. AQ AQ actually killed like a ton of very casual guilds. My guild was very casual, but there were guilds who were like had no nature resistance for Huron, had no consumes, who weren't even coming out of the consumes at all, and those guilds who just played by this soda and pretzel feeling got like just to put it in the most like direct way I possibly can. These guys got like skull fucked by AQ, and if they made it to Nax, these guys got skull fucked by Nax too. I'm not saying these raids are very hard. I think they're the perfect difficulty for a World of Warcraft raid. There are a lot of raids. There's some raids in TBC that I think are the perfect difficulty too. I would say Black Temple is the perfect difficulty. I just don't think it's a very interesting raid. But Black Temple or Nax 40 is like the perfect difficulty. It's also the first time where a lot of guilds really have to organize for all 40 people to be accountable. KT is huge for just accountability. Saffron is huge for accountability and just making sure people are decursing, moving to the right spots. Four Horsemen is huge for accountability in just terms of marks. There's so many fights. Patchwork, I mean, I could just kind of keep going. There's so many fights. Thaddeus, sorry. There's so many fights. Last one, I'll just name off Lotheb. Like, there are just so many fights that accountability for the entire raid or just core people is the most needed. Before this, it's really just I don't know. I mean, what really just like Neff or really just Baron Geddon with the bomb or maybe just AQ40 like Cthulhu and AQ40. I think that's kind of it. Like maybe Viscidus and AQ42 with making sure people are destroying their corners. But like that's really it in terms of like accountability. Nax just has so many. It's so big. It's so unforgiving if you do wipe, especially with world buffs out. Which I mean, obviously will can be was most likely the case before the boon in 2019 or 2020, 2021. Holy shit, I'm fumbling here. But it really is like that's really the case for a 2021 version of it before the boon came out. Like you lose buffs, it'd be a huge hit. Like there's a reason why even on era, like premier guilds are still rebooting for Saffron, even with a ton of people with Naxbis. Like there's still fights that just require coordination. There's still fights that need that little extra edge just to make them so much easier. And I think that like playing it off as if they're just these like soda and pretzel raids is I feel like that's very disingenuous to the player base, and I feel like it really just kind of screams to me that these guys didn't actually play classic. I don't think that these raids are like cutting edge and really require a lot of work, but I think just saying like, oh yeah, well we want to keep them that way again is not very accurate, just to kind of say the least. And another thing, like I really hope they don't change the itemization too much. I was under the guise that they would be making like maybe warriors would get an iteration of the tier for DPS or like shamans would stuff like that just to kind of help ease that in. But I hope they don't because the perfect part about vanilla raids is that the gear is such a mishmash. Like onslaught girdle being in phase 1 is really wild, and that is based pretty much the entire game. Like mentor the girdle's great, but they're pretty much on par. Like it's a very minimal DPS increase, and that's a huge item that's available in phase 1. And so to have that, it keeps Molten Core alive. Like if you get rid of the cool itemization, like I mean, Onslaught Girdle's in there. I can never remember the name of the bow, but the bow's in there. That's huge for melee. Quick Strike Ring's in there. Quick Strike Ring is an insane ring that's available from there. Toep is in there. Obviously, Sofron's Hammer, tier 2 pants, stuff like that. Like, if you remove the huge ticket items like Onslaught Girdle, or just make them not as good for Molten Core, all you do is hurt old content and just content in general. Because people at Phase 6 are still going to be running this stuff for Onslaught Girdle. But the issue is, like, if you just need people for a binding run, it's way less tantalizing to the average player to be like, hey, well, all that's good in there is binding. But if you're like, hey, there's binding in there, there's quick strike ring, there's both I think there's the really good healing ring, like there's the gun, there's the bow. I don't know why I can't remember this bow. It's gonna drive me crazy, but it's a very big bow. Like, if you have all those other items, it's like way more tantalizing. Like, yeah, okay, I could still use Onslaught Girdle, but if that's gone, it's like, I don't really know if I can do a binding run again. And I don't think that's good. But yeah, I'm not really sure that these guys actually played vanilla. There's a lot of questionable things, like Ret Paladin still being in the state it's in, despite Agrid being a Ret Paladin main, is pretty wild. I think this stuff's fine. I think I'm okay. Like, okay, as a guild leader, I'm okay with raid size being pushed down to 20. I love 40 min rating. I think 40 min rating is awesome. Clearly, but I think it's okay going down to 20 for this kind of version of the game. But I just worry that they stray too far from vanilla, that it's going to really hurt the player base, and that a lot of those diehard vanilla guys who I'm confident are going to play the entire game are going to just lose interest. And I think that that's a really big player pool to lose. Um, and I'm almost in that boat. If I didn't have my wonderful guild, if I didn't have HamFam, I'd probably be back just maining Era. Like, that's the truth. And if then, even then, like, if HamFam was like, hey, dude, like, you talk a lot about Era, it seems a lot of fun. Let's go, like, main Era or restart Era. I wish they'd bring back clones so much. They'd make so much money off of that. Like, they would make an insane amount of money. But if it was, just like, hey, yeah, we want to go main Era, I'd be like, okay, like, that's insane. That's awesome. But again, I love my boys. I'm happy to play with them. So when I talk about all this odd stuff, I don't want it to be like I'm just being all doom and gloom, because I do have fun in it. I do enjoy it. A lot of this stuff is like really, really confusing to me on the direction they're making. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the new mic, or, well, using my old mic. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. Take care, you guys.